His new book is called A Revolution of Common Sense, How Donald Trump Stormed Washington and Fought for Western Civilization. It comes out November 18 this year. You can pre-order it right now on Amazon.com. He is a CNN commentator, Salem Radio Network host. Please welcome to the program, Mr. Scott Jennings.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good to hear your voice, my friend.
Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. So, Scott, you've heard the news, I'm sure, about John Bolton being indicted. What's your reaction?
Well, first of all, I think this one is different than some of the other prosecutions, if only because this investigation apparently spans a number of years and originated in the Biden administration. I looked at the indictment briefly. There's a lot of detailed information here about him using an AOL account to transmit classified information back to his family. So listening to some of the lawyers this afternoon, it sounds like he's got a big problem on his hands. And look, this national security information is no joke. It ought to be handled appropriately, and if anybody should have known the rules, it would have been Ambassador Bolton.
Yeah, I think one DOJ lawyer said the case against him was airtight. It seemed like a clear violation of the Espionage Act. He had a private server a la Hillary Clinton where he sent and received classified information, and of course, Scotty wrote that book. Without the classified information, I doubt he could have been able to write that book as definitively as he did. So he's in deep, deep voodoo.
Yeah, and his career in Washington goes back years and years and years, and virtually every job he's ever had, he had some kind of classified designation. So he's had security clearances. He's been through all the trainings. And, you know, when you're in government and you're in these settings, they put the fear of God into you about not mishandling classified information. He's been on TV numerous times lecturing others about mishandling classified information. So we'll see what a jury wants to do with it, but I suspect his lawyers have to be looking at how to plead this down and avoid some jail time.
Now, regarding your book, A Revolution of Common Sense, How Donald Trump Stormed Washington and Fought Western Civilization, I think I heard it was Newt Gingrich recently after the ceasefire deal was negotiated. He said Donald Trump is now in that pantheon with epic leaders like Winston Churchill and FDR.
Well, I agree with that because, look, circumstances, put world leaders into situations. And the circumstances that Donald Trump inherited here, what was going on the world stage, what's going on in the Middle East and in some of these other conflicts, they have put him in a position to rise to greatness. What's going on in our own culture, I think, has put him in a situation to rise to greatness. And in my opinion, he is rising to meet that challenge. What he has pulled off in the Middle East alone is nothing short of a miracle. Hostages have come home. We're on the brink of possible peace in a region that, as you know, we never see it. And so I think circumstances are presented to leaders, and they either rise up or they don't. And in my opinion, Donald Trump is rising up, and it ought to make every American proud that it's our president who's doing so.
And Scott, they've got no answers. Of course, the hair was on fire when Donald Trump did Liberation Day and talked about all these tariffs. Stock market goes down for a while. Recently, record highs on Dow Jones, S&P, NASDAQ, shut down the border within about 4 weeks, put the National Guard in D.C., homicides went down, carjackings went down. They've got no response. The man has been, dare I say, successful.
He has been. He's fulfilled his promises. I mean, the only real response they have is to continue on with the kind of rhetorical nonsense that we saw during the campaign in 2024. They call him names. They call anybody who votes for him names. They denigrate people who have conservative, center-cut conservative values. It's all the same thing we saw last year. The American people rejected this kind of political attack that we see on him and that we see on his voters. And in spite of all that resistance, he's still out making good on his campaign promises. They have no real answer for it because I think most of the positions that they hold are so far outside the mainstream that they don't really know their way back with most Americans. I mean, if Donald Trump is the president of common sense, they are the party of uncommon nonsense, and everybody knows it.
I think what they also find, Scott, exasperating is this man just had a 3-hour medical examination, flying colors, heart 14 years less than his chronological age, and he looks like he's having a good time.
Yeah, look, we're the fun party. I mean, I hate to break it to the Democrats, but we're the fun party, and it's because our president is a fun president. He doesn't take himself too seriously. He's able to crack a joke. And right now, I think, his sort of work doing the things he's doing, but doing it with a smile, doing it with a little flair, doing it, dare I say, as a happy warrior, I think that resonates more with the American people than the woke scolds that we find leading the Democratic Party. These people couldn't laugh at themselves or laugh at anybody's joke if they were forced to do so. But I think the American people like it when our leaders, can smile and laugh a little bit and have fun with the job. This is public service, but it can be fun and it can be entertaining to some degree, and it can be accessible to the average American. I think that's what President Trump is doing.
On CNN, they just had this town hall with AOC and Bernie Sanders, and I was asked why those two. It seems that logic would suggest it should have been Hakeem Jeffries, the Democrat leader in the House, and Chuck Schumer, the Democrat leader in the Senate. But they chose AOC and Bernie Sanders because I believe that's where the energy of the party is. Right now, the modern Democratic Party, the energy is Hakeem Jeffries, it's AOC, it's Jasmine Crockett, it's Zohran Mamdani.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. If you look where their energy is, it's around these people who are declared socialists, people who have, I think, views that are so far outside the mainstream that it explains a lot about why their party has a 20% approval rating nationally. But that's where the energy is. You turn on your television, you are most likely to see a Democrat who is either some sort of unhinged radical like Jasmine Crockett or some kind of socialist crusader like Bernie Sanders or AOC. They are the de facto leadership. Chuck Schumer has shut down the government trying to avoid a primary from AOC or someone that she picks in New York State. And so you can see who's running the show right now, and it's a bunch of socialists. And if Mamdani wins in New York, it's going to get even worse because they'll assume that's the best path forward when you and I both know that it's not.
The book is called Revolution of Common Sense, How Donald Trump Stormed Washington and Fought for Western Civilization. Again, it comes out November of this year. You can pre-order it on Amazon.com. It is by my guest, Scott Jennings. Scott, we have about 90 seconds left. I want to give you an observation I have about watching you square off with your panelists. I've watched Fox News when Charles Krauthammer was alive, and I noticed that he made Juan Williams smarter, better, sharper. He couldn't say ridiculously stupid stuff that they used to say because you couldn't do that with somebody as sharp as Krauthammer. I've noticed the same thing with you and with Abby Phillips. It seems to me she is more careful, more cautious, less over the top than she was before you sat there and began to debate her and the other fellow panelists. Is that your observation?
That I hadn't thought of that, but I will tell you this. I think the debates that she and I are having are very smart. They're very sharp. She's well prepared. I'm well prepared. And for the audience, I think it makes the audience smarter, which is what I care about the most. And so I'm darn proud to have that seat. I hadn't really considered your observation, but I will say when you go out there, you got to bring your A game because they're not going to cut you any slack as a conservative.
Well, you're too classy to say it, but you've raised her game. You sure have, and you've raised the game of everybody else who's around that table. And I think that you're doing a heroic job on CNN battling these people every night.
Well, I'm honored that you would say that. Your voice means so much to me and conservatives across the country, and to hear praise from you is a high honor, and I'm humbled by it, and I can't thank you enough.
A Revolution of Common Sense, How Donald Trump Stormed Washington and Fought for Western Civilization by Scott Jennings. Scott, thanks for taking the time. God bless.
Thanks, Larry.